Pinda imumba kupe imvura tokupigira ichichunu matere mabunu echichokuno azere tokulungekera imoyenda ndisu wacho kunurira pene maidini mauya neikoza wawaenda mata chisambiro maidini mauya neikoza mata. Tadzoka pano pakanoiwa nyai broadcast ndini sangwa dzisipiwe kachidza mapfumo aiwa moroi mabuja moroi matoko ndagweda ndini sangwa dzindauya newarendo wenyu Nyasi svondo yakapera zvakaramba kamuheno mushini yekuti yanga yaita sei kubva zvaramba aiwa vanhu vese makati aiwa tinoda kuzvinzwa gwedai pekare nawo Nyasi ndauya nawo warendo wedu regai timbomira tione vanhu vanotiteera pafacebook kanenge vachititeera ndikuona pane one person who is eyeing us right there but vanhu vachapinda vachititeera vachiona kuti tiri kuita nezvenyasi tiri kutaura nevaenzi vedu pano tina mai Kambarami Patricia Kambarami ari Director St Christopher's Children with Disability zvekare tina Nyasha Mudambo pano muzukuru wangu ari uya kutaura nenyaya sign language interpretation because vanhu hatichizive bakamutinozva kuti kana vanhu vasingagone kutaura vanotauriwa nawo sei asi ndauya nawo pano vaenzi vedu vachatiteera gaitiona kuti watanga wapinda mufacebook wachitota follow so that hatisi kutaura tega asi avo vanenge vachititaura vanobva vaite like our page and share with other people. I see there are 5 people there, 2 people who are liking it, say yeah, keep going, yeah, follow us please so that we see who you are. Vanhu vari kwamutoko kubvira kwanyadire uko ibva yamandotiteera uyo ndaona uyo Cromwell kwaiwaya sangwa dzipinda iwe like us and share ibva watitaurira kuti uri kutiteera uri kupi. We want to know kuti vanhu vari kutiteera. We have a lot of people who are in Zimbabwe, people in South Africa, in London, in New York. I know Cromwell Australia, New Zealand varotiteera pano every Saturday Sunday anyway patinenge tichiita kanoiwa nyai wachida kunzwa zvinhu zvekwamutoko zvinoitika nezvinhu zvekuzimbabwe yezvinezvi taita broaden our conversations dzatinoita pano pakanoiwa nyai. Tinodaidza vanhu vakawanda vakasiyana siyana vanotitaura zvimwe zvinhu zvatinenge tisingazive. Ya Cromwell in New Zealand, good job. Ibva wandodaidza wamoti please sangwadzi apano ibva imatiteera huyai ndo zvatinoda kuita. Saka nhasi vamwe vachauya chioro uyo UK, I'm in the UK, good job titeere. Tombotanga nekuti warendo weduwa watanga zvatinoita kwamutoko tinokwaidza vanhu. Saka tichinzi kanoi vasingazivi kuti kanoi wanyai zvinorevei kuti kanoi kuti hello wanyai is my friends or vanhu vekwangu vanhu vekwedu. Right? It's hello my friends. So tiri kuda kuti muchipinda muite mukwazise vanhu. Pinda Nyasha upinde mudariro kwasi vanhu vari kuchiteera pafacebook kutaura kuti ndiwe ani unoita nezvei mutupo wako chii. Pinda ude tozopinda later on kana watanga kuamboresa kana wapedza kuamboresa ndozokuintroducei kuti muchitanga kutaura nenyaya chikwazisai vanhu vari kuteera.
Kwazai isusu kwedu kumusha kwedu ndiri mumanyika tinokwazisana chiti muri wadi here. Zita rangu ndinonzi Nyasha Mudambo. Ndiri sign language interpreter. I am a student at the University of Zimbabwe. Ndinoera gumbi gwai mukuru wambwa ndiri machuma.
Aiwa tazvizwa. Ambuya wako wanobva kwamutoko, ambuya wako iwewe.
Ambuya vangu inini nyakubereka amai vangu vanobva kwamutoko kunyadire kwabonda makara. Kwabonda makara pakanjani.
Good one. Vanobva waziva ndio ihama dzenyu. Mai Kambarami kuti ukwazise vanhu uvataurire kuti kampani yako inonzani zvekare mutupo wako ndiwe ani. takamboedza svondo yakapera zvikareka kufamba mushe asi chipinda wakwazise ndinodayira nhasi zvichafamba zvakanaka. Kambarami. Patricia.
Ndonzi Patricia Kambarami.
Patricia, try again. I know Greyston Park kuna Kambarami, she said earlier on kuti kuri kunaya, but mufungeka. Last week we couldn't even, we had the same problem. She was crackling and we had to abort the whole thing. And she's got such a brilliant thing she has to discuss with us. So handiziwe kuti chii chiri kuitika chokwadi. Ngaitimboona futi. Patricia.
Oh dear.
Patricia, speak to us.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. Go on. Tell us who you are. Yeah, now keep talking. Are you talking?
Patricia Kambarami, Director with St. Christopher's Children with Disabilities. Yes, I'm talking.
Patricia, can you exit and come back in? Can you leave the studio and come back in? I have no idea why this is happening. Can you click leave the studio and come back in? Can you hear me? Okay, Kambarami vachititeera kudaro. I hope this time she will come in, because really this problem started last week and I have no idea what's going on. Moroi, maybe if she turns off her video, maybe we can hear vasangwadzi vangu vapindira kwekuno tichaona mira tiona kuti zvichaita sei, and maybe you're right. Add to stream. Patricia, can you speak even though I can't see you? Let's see if we can hear you talk anyway. Anyway, tichimirira Kambarami kuti wapinde muchirongwa. Nasi tiri kutaura nenyaya yedisability. Ndinodayira makambotiteerawo last week takandichitry kuti tione kuti tingadiscuss here nyaya iyi. Inyaya iri urema hausekwe chokwadi. Zvinogona kuitika kune munhu wese when you least expect it. And tinoziva kuti makore ekudhara ese taiziva kuti Jairus jiri ndokwaenda vanhu vane madisabilities, vane mahandicaps ndokwavaibatsirwa. Asi patakazoita independent kwakazoitawo mamwe maagencies akawanda, non-profit nemaagencies akawanda aiita take care of children with disabilities. So right now, where are we? In 2022 nenyaya yemadisabilities, vamwe vari kutangawo non-profit avo. Kambarami tikuda kuti wauyiwa titaurire nenyaya yeSt. Christopher's nekuti wakaitanga sei, zvakambotanga sei. Asi while she's trying to come in, tauyazve nani naNyasha Mudambo ari kutitaurira nenyaya yesign language. Nyasha is an advocate yevanhu vemadisabilities. Nyasha, pinda utitaurire kuti iwewe unoita nezvei, and where do you stand in terms of nyaya yevanhu vane madisabilities. Basa rako chairo ndiri okay, pinda, handidi kukupindira, enda mudariro uchititaurira kuti basa rako ndiri.
All right. Sezvandandataura pakutanga peprogram, I'm a student at the University of Zimbabwe. I'm studying translation and interpretation of languages. Currently, I'm on attachment at Daniko Project. So for those who do not know what it is, it's a school that enrolls students with disabilities together with students who are also able-bodied. So I work as an educational sign language interpreter. So my class obviously has deaf students. Saka kune vasinganzwisise kuti sign language interpreter anomboita nezvei. Interpreter we-sign language anoturikira mutauro vevasinganzwi achishandisa maoko kutsanangura kana kuti kwatingati kucommunicate. So ndinoshandisa maoko angu kutaura nevana kana kuti nevanhu vasinganzwi.
Saka okay, vatsanangura kuti basa rako ndere kuti unoita sign language vanhu vasinganzwi vanenge vadzidziswa nani kuti this is how you talk, kuti kana uchitaura kudai kuti ndiri kuti chakati vanenge vadzidziswa nani kuti muzogona kugona kutaura newe neshona hunge iwewe uchigona shona. Handiti ndikaenda kune murungu ndichitaura naye neshona hazvizwe ngokuti hazi kuti zvidorewe. Saka munozvifambisa sei imimi wesign language kuti vanhu vane that problem, vane that handicap yekuti havagoni kuzviexpressa in normal ways like we do, speaking like we do, vano go ahead, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. All right.
Kuti muzogona kuvainterpreta kuti iwewe naiwo kana muchitaura kudai muri kureva kuti chii.
Alright, kana mwana kana kuti munhu azvarwa ano urema hwekusakwanisa kutaura nekunzwa. Kazhinji kacho they are born in families where there are people who can speak, who have speech, right? Unless otherwise, if they're born in families where both parents are deaf, it is easier for the child to learn a sign language since the parents are deaf. So remember, you learn a language, you acquire a language from primary socialization. So you learn from your parents, or rather your immediate caregivers, is it? So for vana vanenge vazvarwa vasingakwanise kutaura nekunzwa, vachivazvarwa mumhuri ine vasi vanokwanisa kutaura, vanozodzidzira iyo sign language kana vaendeswa kuchikoro. So this is why it is important kuti kana waita mwana ane disability kunyanya ivava vatiri kutaura kuti wa deaf, it is important kuti when you discover or that your child is disabled, take them to the necessary institutions where they can get help or rather assistance. So they learn sign language right from the beginning kuchikoro pavanotanga ECD with the assistance of my special needs teachers. So yes, with the assistance of
my special needs teachers acho vanokwanisa kudzidzisa vana our sign language, are they readily available kana kuti vana kana kuti hatizvizive ngekuti we don't go looking for those resources? Zviri kufamba sei? Do you see vanhu vane that disability vachizviziva kuti there are such resources kuma ECD kwacho?
All right, currently apana vanhu who are specialized in the skill special needs. If you're a special needs teacher, you're not only specializing in sign language, you're specializing in different special needs, and it could be students who have cerebral palsy or different medical conditions. So you become an umbrella of special needs, unless if you're going to specialize particularly with students who are deaf, then it's still fine. But special needs teachers are teachers for generally disabled students. Yes. And currently muno Zimbabwe, akuna vanhu vari specialized for that. It's only now when people are now aware that there's need to train people with special needs, or rather the skills of teaching or imparting knowledge to a student who has disability. So izvezvi hazviri kutinetse, hakuna vanhu vacho vari skilled kuti vange vachidzidzisa vana vari disabled. This is why you find kuti vazhinji, especially vana vari deaf, vanoti nonokei kutanga chikoro. And izvozvo zvinowedzeredzwa nekuti ivo vabereki havasi kuziva, they don't even know where to start. ende kazhinji kacho mumasocieties medu zvinotonzi kana wazvara mwana ari deaf, you don't even want to show them around. Yes, to share. Iwewe wacho, you need to get help first to be educated. Mwana wako kana ane urema zvikureva kuti haasi equal, haana kufanana nevamwe vana. So zvinotangira paisusu imimi vabereki vane vana vane urema. You start teaching your child. So the moment yekuti waziva kuti mwana wako ari disabled and you're not allowing them to or showing them, exposing them rather is the correct word, to the world and necessary institutions, dopanotangira dambudziko.
I think that is caused because of stigma. Muma communities, it's huge. I mean, any stigma of any sort, and more so with disability. Sekutara kwandaita apana anoda kuta mwana ane any disability. Urema usekwe. Zvinogoitika kuna anybody mumwe anozvarwa ane akadarwa nozongozoti mwana wake anenge ari slow, haasi kukambaira, haasi kuita chakati. But kana mamwe waibva watorobva amuite mwana obva atohwandiswa kuti asvika 8 years akangorara mumba pasina chiri kuitika ngekuti havasi kuita come out vachitaura kuti mwana ane problem. But you know what, kune mahospitals tikakwanisa kuita move away from stigmatizing any kind of disability, then tinokwanisa kuwana help in that. So like you said, kana vanhu vasingagone kuita come out vachiti ndine challenge yakadai ndoda kuti mwana abatsirwe, hapana anogona kuvabatsira. Handiti, it's stigma which is associated, and stigma, it comes in various ways, and we see it in many ways. And I'm glad to know that kuti iye zvinezvi kune ma-resources akawanda ari available anogona kubatsira vana vanenge vane ma-families anenge ane mwana ane that kind of challenge, where they can send them to school kunoite kunodzidziswa izvozvo. Asi ndinoona kuti muma-communities kana munhu usingahwandise mwana ane urema, vanhu havaseka about it. Vanongoziva kuti mwana pakati ane problem yakati, anoenda kuchikoro kunodzidziswa zvakati. That's my observation, but I don't know, but that's my experience and my observation kuti kana zvakadaro. Asi vanhu kana vachihwandisa mwana uye vanhu vanenge vachingokonyana, mwana wavo haatauri, mwana wacho haanzi kumufungi, as if pazvabva zvanyanya kushamisa. So that is really amazing. I don't know kuti mune vana vangani vamunoita work with iwewe Nyasha.
All right. So currently, as of now, I have 7 students. So what happens, they have their teacher. So she teaches them English and mathematics. And then kozoita over mwana agriculture and the different subjects. So my job is just to interpret. So when the teacher is talking or explaining, I explain that, now I convert that, or rather interpret that into sign language. So we only have 7 students.
What with them? Will you translate it in English, or do you translate it? It's sign language, I guess. But
no. So this is a question I get mostly from people. Is sign language, do I translate that into English? Now there's a difference. So firstly, I want people to realize that sign language is a language on its own. It's not English. It's not English. It's not Shona. It's not English. It's a language. It has its own makeup. It has its own composition. It's a language. And this is why it is recognized as one of the 16 official languages in Zimbabwe. So because I'm interpreting from what is being spoken in English, I then convert that into the signs that are available, not into English. I do not interpret in English. I interpret into signs according to the availability of signs, the signs that are there.
Show us. Show
all right,
us.
For example. For example, the basic, hello, how, yes, hello, how, so this is an R, so you. So that's simple, it's just basic English.
So they know it. When
so
you
now
say
I want you, Yeah, they know exactly what I mean. Now I want you to, I'm going to sign a sentence, and I want you to notice or rather see the difference why I'm saying sign language is a language on its own and English is a language. So for example, in sign language, akuna tenses, past tense and present tense, it doesn't exist in sign language. So in English, if a proper grammatically correct sentence would be, I went to town yesterday, right? So in sign language, I will translate that, interpret that in, it will be, I go town yesterday.
Okay, there's yesterday and tomorrow. Until I go town tomorrow, how is it?
Tomorrow.
All right. So it's a
So
language.
yesterday, tomorrow.
Yesterday and tomorrow. Saka
Sorry, tomorrow, right? And then yesterday.
Saka iwo pavanodzidziswa. How then do they teach them when they can't speak it?
How do we teach them in English?
In sign language yacho kuti vazive kuti uri kurevei.
So ndopane problem where I feel like the Ministry of Education needs to fix things, ipapo. There's need for a syllabus for students who are disabled, who are deaf, sorry, particularly the deaf. Like I was explaining, Kuti, there are certain words you find that I'm sure for Vanu, if you're a student who's doing English, you are given a textbook and there are passages or comprehension passages and and because the aim to teach a child English is so that they improve their vocabulary and their spoken language and so you find, Kuti, in these passages they put words like astonished, smuggled, to mention but a few. But in sign language, the problem with students who are deaf, it's difficult for them to comprehend the comprehension passages, because some of these words do not exist in their language. For example, the word astonished. So the immediate equivalent that I would use as an interpreter to explain astonished without losing context would be surprised.
Yes.
Because hakuna sign ya astonished, so I would use surprised. And it saka for mwana ari kuwerenga passage rikuti the boy was astonished. In the interpreter, the boy is surprised. In as much as the meaning is similar, but I've lost the context of the story. The immediate the invariant core of the passage I've lost. It's not correct. So there's need for.
I hear you, but we are thinking in terms of us who have a variety of words that we can use to express ourselves. But for them, they will understand what you're saying.
They will understand. Kunzwisisa vanonzwisisa kana ndawati surprised gogo. But problem inozobva pakuti kana wakunyora exam, wapiwa passage, comprehension passage that they're supposed to read in an exam, and they are given the meaning, they're given words are now astonished or smuggled. And usually in English syllabus, the Zimsek syllabus, they'll pick certain words from the passage and they'll ask you to define the words according to the context given in the passage.
Okay.
So just saying astonished is similar to surprised. Pamwe passage, it doesn't mean surprised in the passage. So it's difficult. It's difficult for a student who's deaf to write the same exam with a hearing or a hearing student. In as much as sorry?
Say, A, B, C, D.
No, they write it exactly the same as a hearing student. And it's unfair because this is the reason why they never pass English. This is why I'm saying they shouldn't be taught English. It's not their language. They don't think in English. They think in sign language. So akuna certain words, they don't exist in sign language. Examine them in sign language. Teach them in sign language. Talk to them in sign language. Don't try and interpret things or words or a sentence into English. It's not, they don't think in English. Remember, we think in our in our mother language.
Yes.
My mother tongue is Shona. So if you talk to me, if you ask me a question, I think of it in Shona, then I convert it into English, then I'll give you a response. So remember, Avava, they have not heard Munu, Achitaura, they have never heard Shona, they've never heard English, so they think in sign language, right? So treat it as such. So don't examine them in English when they don't think in English.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes, so there's need for a change in literature for students who are deaf.
Saka iwewe ndiwe advocate wacho ka iwewe, because you understand it, yeah, and you advocate for people who only speak sign language. These are including policy, because you can only lead it to policy change and kana muchivasetera ma-exams. It's unfair to set an exam for a person asingasenzese that language. You explained it well. Whether you think in your mother language, which is Shona or English, because those are the spoken language ya unotaura. But kana mun asina iyoyo, it's unfair. So what do you think? What do you think is happening then with the ministry in terms of what working with people when there was such a disability?
So at the moment, I feel like the reason why little action is being made, akuna language policy. There's need to have a language policy first. Ariko madrafts a language policy, but nothing that has been cast on stone. Kuti aiwa domo temo ripo. So there's need first to come up with a language policy. Kuti kana takuda kumiririra nyaya dzekuti ngatichinjire syllabus literature yevana vasinganzwi vari deaf tine pekutangira. Hakuna language policy. Yes, the government has done a little by at least recognizing it as one of the 16 official languages, but it's not enough. It is not enough. So I can't, even if I'm going to advocate for it, I have to start from the root cause, which is the need for a language policy, and we don't have that yet in Zimbabwe.
But then is there a group of people who are like yours with advocacy, who play that advocacy to move this, to push this? Because on your own you can't. On your own you can't. You have to be a group of people who advocate for this, for such a policy to be implemented, or for any change in that.
A group of people, Isusukama students from the University of Zimbabwe who are studying translation and interpretation of languages, and even Warwita linguistics, we're advocating for that as well. Vanotimirira, our lecturers, the likes of Dr. Indlovu, they're doing what they can, but I feel like when you're explaining it, I think certain situations, especially for people who are disabled, anonzwisiswa nemunhu akambogara nemunhu ari disabled kana kuti iye anorarama neurema. It is difficult for inini kuti ndiudze kuti nditaure kuti ngatichinjirei vana literature, students who are deaf, their literature because of ABC, and my reasons are very valid, but because they're an outsider observer, they will never understand what is inside.
Well, it can
so
be,
they take it lightly.
It can only be for them, by them.
Yes.
So it's difficult to speak on behalf of them if you don't have the lived experience.
And so people just don't care. They just don't care. That's the problem. Because a lot of people who are advocating for that. Kuti tudoti maupenyu vevanhu vari kurarama neurema uchinjo, we want to include them in the education system, integrate them into society, and a lot of people are advocating for that. And if you're not making effort, then you just don't care. You're not wearing earplugs, are you?
But they don't see the agency. They don't see the agency because they're not really experiencing. They're not living with those people, so they have. I hear what you mean.
Saka zvinoda kuti kana tawaudza kuti alright, potai muchitumira iwo ma workshops atiri kuita atinenge chiita unzai vanhu vanomirira wacho vanozoita officiate mitemo yacho Ministry of Education, invite them so that they attend such workshops where we're advocating for disability. Munzwewo kana zvinetsa, to my different delegates who come into schools, who go into schools and vogara vachiona just to observe. If it means them just coming in the normal wachiuya as probably a student, teacher, or whatever the case might be, so that they interact and see their problems and get to understand how they live with their disability. But as for now, as long as they're outside observers, they will never understand.
Yeah, I totally understand, because I mean, such experiences, you walk in their shoes for a mile, and then even my parents who are living with children with disabilities, it's difficult. That's why I was hoping Mike Kambarami would come, would tell her how she started St. Christopher's Children with Disability, because she has had the lived experience. So you are so right. I think it's so important. But I wonder kuti kudhara zvakamira sei.
Well, I haven't looked into that yet, but andifunge zvatiri kutaura izvozvo. For instance, I have a couple of students wakaenda last year who wrote their O levels last year. One of them, akarambwa, he was born deaf, profoundly deaf. And his parents neglected him. Vanomugarisa vaenda kumusha kwa mai nababa, kumusha kwe his maternal grandparents. And ana sekuru nagogo vakati, chendawo unoita sei uende kuchigayo, unoshanda uri kuchigayo chavo. And because munhu anditi he haana language, he can't talk, he can't hear, but he's got feelings, he can see.
Of course.
Right? Saka because of treatment yaaipiwa nevanhu vaiuya muchizvigayo imomo, even from home and all, he became a very bitter boy.
Angry.
So inini I only ndakangoita I think almost 4 months naye before he left, before he finished his O level. But you could tell that this child is very bitter. Simple things could be such juice, it's now hot. He would reply you very aggressive, you know. And even he didn't even know his birthday. He didn't know his birthday. So I could dara, and him being akazopetsa form 4, he was now 21. I think, if I'm not mistaken. Akapedza form 4 at 21. But izvo zvakamukanganisa kumugarisa ari kumba asina interaction nevamwe vana, zvakamukanganisa. And even psychology, even counseling yacho anenge akutoda like sessions, I think, a 1 year kuti aite anyevenuke more.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a long process, therapy yacho.
It's a long process, but kuti nditi kudhara zvaifamba sei, I'm yet to research how people, especially very deaf, how they were treated kudzimba. But izvozvizvi ivo ma-students angu ivava vakapedza form 4 most of them, they text me, Kumba, I'm lonely and ndinawe kutaura naye, so please talk to me.
What do you mean they text you?
They have phones. Yes, they have phones. So they send me messages on WhatsApp saying, I'm lonely, please talk to me. Kumba ndina vanhu vanongoenda wosiya ngondibatidzira TV and handinzwi futi TV yacho ndechingona ma-images, so please talk to me. Saka parents are still doing that. There's need to spread awareness, raise awareness. Nenyaya yekuti kana waita mwana ari deaf kana kuti ari disability, muendese kuchikoro kuma-right institution.
Yes.
Musamudaro because maakutomukanganisa paanozouya kunokuka anenge atodamageka. They are beyond the control. The damage is just too much. Azvichagadziriki.
Because my psychosocial nikikini acho iya kazvinike zvakutoda ma-experts to deal with that one thing at the other and whatever, because vanenge were damaged because of the treatment yavanenge vachipiwa.
Vanenge vachipiwa, exactly.
But kana wanyora O level vanonyora in sign language.
They write it in English. So for last year, for my exams power, they give me the exam paper beforehand, maybe 15 minutes before that, when the exam starts, and then I go through it, and then I have to interpret the whole exam, the whole paper. Tanangura kana iri story ndoiwerenga paragraph by paragraph, I summarize it, simplify it for them, and then they answer. I have to read the question and then simplify the question so that they understand. It's a lot of work.
But
a lot of work.
in alphabet, in A, B, C, D.
Vanonyora in A, B, C, D. They write proper English, but chinenge chisiri English, it correct grammatically, it's not correct.
That's why I was kind of like, they text you and say, Nyasha, talk to me, and yeah.
One of them, hi, like one of my students, you save number. You save number.
Save his.
I hadn't saved his number, so he wanted to say, you must save my number. Please save my number.
Okay.
But because I'm experienced with them, I spend most of my time with them. I now understand what they mean by that. Yes.
So it's also ordinary people. What can we do?
What can we do?
What can we do? Because we don't speak sign language, but if we have a family member or you visit a friend anemana asinga hard of hearing or doesn't speak, what would you suggest? What is our first step so that we don't feel like we're isolating them? Tell me, I'm lost, because I mean in Kwandiri this is a new thing as well.
What should we do, Kanama? Like I said, firstly, I think there's need kuti even my broadcasting channels like yours and SBC, let's raise awareness. Kuti, if you've got, firstly, that's the first port of call, let's raise awareness. Mwanari disabled, kutoita tuma storylines, tunotsanangura kuti mwanari disabled, aimbotitwa zvisiri right, akazoendeswa kuchikoro, and then they became big, it's important. Saka ngatitangene tuma storylines itoto by broadcasting them on channels, television channels or social media channels like yours. Number 2, raise awareness through my channels. Imimi vabereki zvinotangira pakutambira, accepting that ndapiwa mwana ane urema. So it starts with you by accepting that I have a disabled child, and what's next? The child is disabled, let me give them the best of what I can give. If it's taking them to the best schools and a specializer with disability, do it for your child. If it means you are going to get kana ari cerebral palsy, if it means that you're going to get them the best facilities, do it. Do what you can. But I do understand kune vamwe vano vasingakwanise because of background. But there are organizations and social psycho support organizations. Take your child ikoko. If you can't afford their issues can be taken, their problems can be taken. Kunana Beam. You know Beam?
No.
Beam is an organization that rather funds my tuition for students who are disabled, who come from less privileged families. So they fund my school fees for them.
Okay. With my resources.
Yes, my resources. So be it from infant to kushuka university, that's their job. So you even all the students with disabilities, their school fees is funded by Beam.
Okay.
Saga, yes.
Acronym
I don't know, hey, I haven't looked into it.
Okay, but
I will let you know.
ndikunzwa vanhu vari kutitera hanzi well said Nyasha, you inspire us Nyasha. Zvinobatsira ngekuti inini kutoona usually ndinenge ndichingotaura ndichiita yap. I'm learning because this is a new thing altogether. It's a new world, and you know what, you inspire us zvechokwadi nekuti tizive kuti kune zvinhu zvakadai so. And kwandiri, what touches me, there are so many other things you could have done, but you dared go there kuti you wanted to work with vanhu vane madisabilities, vanhu vanonyara, vanhu vanovatya. But munhu ane disability, vanhu vanotiza, they don't want to have anything to do. But
do you know what? Do you know what? People actually think that people who are disabled are very violent. And it's true. They're very aggressive people. To be honest, I work with them. They are very aggressive people.
There is a reason. There is a reason because they've been
isolated. But the reason why they're aggressive, it's the way you treat them.
Yeah.
But ukajairana now, they're the sweetest people you could ever know. To be honest, I enjoy.
If you are not afraid of them, even though you don't speak the same language, you can tell someone who likes you. The way you touch them, the way you talk to them, and they know it. And aggression, it's a defense mechanism. I'm not a psychologist myself, but I know that's what normally happens when you're working with people with certain disabilities. Anozoguma atsamwa because hausikunzwa zvaari kutaura, and so they, of course, they get angry. That's the only way they can express themselves, that I'm not comfortable and I'm not liking this, right? But I really take my hat off to you for going there and deciding. How did you decide you wanted to do this? Maybe I should ask that.
Well, do you know what? I actually never wanted to be involved in languages. I actually wanted. I think everyone goes through a phase when they decide in their career path. So at one point, I wanted to be a doctor. And then at some point, I wanted to be an archaeologist because I was in love with history. And then it changed. And then I became fascinated with the stars. And now I wanted to be an astronomer. And then that changed. And all of a sudden, Form 4, when I was waiting for my O-level results, I was like, instead of me just sitting, I might as well do something. So back in grade 3, Taiwan News, the SABC 3, the South Africa. So there was a man I interpret a sign language, the little corner. And I found that quite fascinating. He did it so well. I really enjoyed it. So I didn't understand. So I decided to do sign language whilst I was waiting for my O-level results. And then I finished my sign language, continued with A-level. And then after my A-level, I did sign language. That was my second level. So I'd finished the basic sign language. I was going into my intermediate level. And yeah, and then I ended up. Sorry?
Where did you learn that? While you were waiting for my results, where did you go for the sign language?
All right, Deaf Zimbabwe Trust. Please take them for me. Deaf Zimbabwe Trust. It's a school as well that enrolls students who are deaf, mainly deaf.
Yeah.
So ndokwanikadzidzira sign language, and then I ended up picking translation and interpretation of languages as my program at university. So I do want to major in sign language and Swahili.
Urikuona pana ari kutiteera apa anzi that's my sister there, anzi Train Sushi Nyandoro, that's my sister there, anzi naMoira Kwaramba. We're deliberately including at least 15% of people with disability. It is one of my passions. Recently went for a workshop in Gweru on this subject 2 weeks ago. So there are people who are in this, and I'm really impressed because I had no idea. And when you told me about it, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Last week I went to a workshop as well, Medra, ku Epworth, Younger disability inclusion in schools. How do we include students who are disabled in my mainstream schools? And tikataura zvinhu zvakawanda stereki. and one we are trying, they're putting effort how, but I feel like effort is not enough. Hamuna dai mamuri vanhu ivo vacho vari kurarama neurema vacho vari pa front line. I think more action would have been made kudhara. Saka dambudziko ndore, I feel like people they're not moving as fast as I want them to. I want them to. But I guess chimwe nechimwe chine nguva yacho, handiti?
True.
It's a process, and it's going to take time, but we keep pushing.
Dimi my trailblazers actually, because without people like you, nobody will push for them, nobody will advocate for them. And also you're an able-bodied person advocating for people and in needs who are not able to speak for themselves, and I take my hat off to that. As na Juliet Mandea Panapa Mtongerwa, very interesting, amazing indeed. As na Moira Deaf Zimbabwe Trust, Jules, my friend, this is impressive. Good for you, Nyasha. Good on you, Nyasha. Well done.
Thank you.
This is very interesting. This is very interesting for us to talk about. My topics are sitting. I'm singing ZBC. I mean, it's little podcasts like mine. We have very small podcasts. And some people don't follow because they just say, I just doubt it, or whatever. But as you can see, we have the same language, Panapa, and we invite some people who can talk and speak to us. This podcast is community facing. It's an educational program where we invite people to talk to us about idea, including somebody's watches idea. But I love to hear stories, and Basarangu Panapa is to talk stories and to probe people who to educate. Mangwana Sondo, Tinegetina Dr. Solomon Guramatun. Dr. Guramatun is coming on Kanoy. Can you believe our Kanoy is getting bigger and inviting bigger people to talk to us? We are small, very small podcast here. But ordinarily you wouldn't hear anything about. We have no idea, but we're going to bring him here. Then he can talk to us in a simpler language. And in Mangwana, Variku London, not kuti time inochinja mangwana, daylight savings inochinja mangwana, saka time in yatinota my 1 o'clock kunoku Zimbabwe 9 o'clock. Zimbabwe I changed because I not the daylight saving. But Variku London, I think today it was 7 o'clock, but tomorrow same time 1 o'clock here, Zimbabwe 9 o'clock, but London it will be, you spring forward, right? You'll be 1 hour ahead, so you'll be 8 o'clock, I believe. So motitera mangwana tinenge tina Dr. Grama kutunhu panapa achititaurira nenyaya I care, nenyaya yekuite cataracts removal, vanoita philanthropy yakawanda again. He's just an amazing human being, really, kuti tinzwewo zvatisingazive. So ndoiya takadaidza Dr. wamazino akatitaurira kuti endai munogadzirwa mazino kuti pamwe munenge musingazviziva chiti mazino angu akadai ndabva ndaita chindaora mazino not knowing. Saka we invite all these people to talk to us, and inini I rely on you people vanotiteera kuti mutitaure sangwadzi kune vanhu vanoita nezvakati, sangwadzi kune vanhu vanoita nezvakati. Taida kutaura nenyaya yebill yemarriage yelobola bill, but ndiri kumbomirira kuti ndiwane all the detail nehansard kuti iri kutaura kuti muparliament macho makabvumiwa kunzi chii. Then toda kutsvaga chief anotaura nesu, lawyer anotaura nesu, neaparent kuti waite chime in. What do they think? What are their thoughts on nyaya yemabhiro ari kupaswa aya? Aiwa, again, tine uromo, Kambarami watadza kupinda. She kept dropping off. I have no idea because she's in the same city na Nyasha ari ku Greendale, Kambarami vari ku Greystone Park. I really don't know what the problem is, but there is no way I'm going to bring her back because nyaya yao we have vanoziva nyaya ya babana Kambarami. You would like to hear more about this because she's taken to a whole new level now, coming up with the St. Christopher's Children with Disability. And GoFundMe, and would like to support them. Variku diaspora, variku mushaikoko. every little piece it helps. Saka tinoda kupromota what they are doing and try to raise money for St. Christopher's. Saka ndichaposta zvekare kana ndawaita reschedule mangwana ndakutaurirai naDr. Gramatunu so ndinouya we atina kanoiwanyai sambwa dzari kumboendawo on vacation, so I won't be able to tinenge tisina kanoiwanyai next week because sambwa will be on vacation, and then the following week I'll advertise again so you can follow us. Tinenge takonoti nyaya build up kana kuti tinenge tine another person atiri kuda kutaura naye amunodawo kuteerera. Honai time kuti yatoita so yatoenda so fast. Handizive kuti Nyasha chimbwa wapinda ubva waiti wanyatsotitaurira zvaunofunga nenyaya yako iyi zvauda kuti encourage kuti tiitewo isusu tobva takombera program yedu tobva tatoperedza dzatova pasara 10 minutes.
All right. So mukuvhara, in conclusion, inclusion yevanhu who are disabled aitangira kudzimba inotangira kudzimba, sorry, but it has to spread futi muzvikoro and mumachurch. Vanhu vane disability, especially the deaf, the blind, waitirewo bhaibheri ravo rebraille, mahymn books avo ebraille. Muchechi itai interpreter anointerpreta service yacho yese. Kana maona vauya kumachechi vatambirewo. If they're young, take them to youth. Employ resident interpreters who are specialized in that. Mumachurch, mushkoro, muma hospital. Izvezvo as we speak, hospitals in Zimbabwe don't have resident interpreters. I don't know how they give prescriptions to vanhu vari deaf. I don't know how they even explain. I do not even know. Ndosaka ndizona vamwe vachinzi aiwa ndakanzi nditore 1 piritsi ndakamira pazuva kamwe chete ndiri pazuva ndapedza kudya anditi
panenge waisingasaingezuva kuti afternoon evening.
Exactly. Muri kuti munhu anzwisisa haana kunzwa yaanenge asina kunzwa. So it is important futi kuti my hospitals tinge tine ma-interpreters vanhu vanonzwisisa nema-different disabilities. Handi munoona nezveutano. So it's your field. I employ vanhu who are ma-interpreters for them as well. And yeah, I think awareness, we have to keep pushing for awareness for people who are disabled, to continue pushing as well. It is very important. Yeah. I guess.
That's a very inspiring and informative Tadzidza Nyasha. I also traveled to Finland. Moira traveled to Finland on the 2 years ago. And Nyasha DM me and we can share with you what we are doing in Bari.
All right. What's a handle? Account?
Moira.
What is it?
I don't know how I can do this. Moira is my friend on Facebook. She can get in touch with me. I'll give you all the details, Nyasha. And it's
all right. All right.
Yeah.
No problem.
I will link the two of you up because you two people, and maybe many more, as what a great conclusion says Juliet. It's so important. This is how you can get together with people with the same mind, and advocacy. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. Maybe able-bodied, but to take that upon yourself and say you want to do something. Yes, the more the better, and the more the stronger. And there is so much that you need to do. I never thought of it because I'm able-bodied. So I am all for supporting the advocacy in anything. I am into all that stuff. But you don't even think of it because you're able-bodied and you don't see my challenges, or you don't realize my challenges are anofeswa nevanhu vane problem iyoyo kuti kana vaenda kuhospital what happens. And abuse inoitwa kune vanhu vakadaro because they can't express themselves, they can't, there is just so much this need for advocacy and for educating people. Machurch is a huge platform, it's a powerful platform it's a change maker. They can make changes. Yes, munhu wese anoenda kuchurch. I know kuZimbabwe munhu wese anoenda kuchurch because but whatever they go to church, I'm not there to judge. That's all good, that's all fine. But if they are if it has such an impact on my communities, it also could play a huge role in changing people's mindsets. Because it could happen to you, it could happen kune mwana wako or mwana wako. My handicaps is something that's just always been there, but kana tiri aware takuziva kuti this is what we need to do. And kusatya vanhu, I know inini kunoku I've also worked in environment yevanhu vane disabilities. I worked in an organization with disabilities, and unoona disabilities awangosati watomboona anotyisa, so but there is respect. They give them respect and they show them love, and tikagona ipapo it's a first step, and then we can move forward. That aiwa tatenda Nyasha. I know last week we just had so many problems getting in. But you know what? I'm so glad to see at least I had one person today when watitera mchinzwawo zvakasvitarwa naNyasha nenyaya yake yaanoita a sign language interpreter. And my Kambarami, I promise you we're going to get her back maybe sometimes in April. We'll try and organize and make sure she's in an environment, maybe there's some problem with network ikoko, where we'll be able to get her back. I want to know kutendai mese matitera nhasi okwamutoka aiwa tokutendaiwa moyo takupinzai mumba tichikupai mvura tichibva taomberana naiba. Aiwa tinozvitenda, tinozvikudzai, ndi tinoda kuti murambe muchititaura kana pamwe munenge manzwa vane something important that you'd like to listen to or hear wachitidzidzisa pano pakanoiwa nyai. Muwane zuva rakanaka, muwane manheru akanaka, vari kumusha tozokuonai mangwana tichitaura naDr. Guramadhunu. Ndini Sangwa Dzispiwe Kachinza Mapfumo. Tirindai zvakanaka.